Today we're going to be making this no-sew chick in these yellow colors. Let's get straight to our supply list. I have Bernat Ogo in a yellow color that I liked. I have Big Twist Cuddle in gold for the beak. Any pair of scissors that is sharp will do. A size 6 J crochet hook, a tapestry needle, a stitch marker, or safety eyes, and then you'll also need some stuffing. Hey guys, welcome to Crafts Go Bloom. My name is Krista and this is my baby chip pattern. And this is a chick that has a no-sew nose. We've got 2 wings and then the tail sticks out the back. And I've made it in a variegated color here. This is actually Bernat tie-dye-ish. So if you can see, I'm not sure how well the camera picks it up, but if you can see a little bit of discoloration, that's because of where I was at in the multicolored skein. And then this tan version as well. Today we're going to be making this yellow version. To start off in round 1, we're going to need to make a magic circle. And to do that, we're going to lay the yarn across the inside of our hand and pinch it with our thumb. Wrap it around your first 3 fingers and pinch again. Go across the back of your hand and grab it with your pinky. Then take your hook and grab the second loop, give it a twist, and pull through the strand that your pinky is grabbing. Pull your hands out and untangle it, and we've got our magic ring. And into that magic ring, we're going to do 7 single crochets. And if you've never done that before, you're going to insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull it through both loops. And that is just a regular single crochet, whether you're doing that into a magic ring or into any other stitch. And then once we've done our 7 single crochets into that, we need to pull on this end, and that will tighten up our magic ring and give us our starting point. As a side note, I do have a couple mosquito bites. It's springtime as I'm filming this, and we've been doing a lot of gardening. Now on to round 2, and we're going to increase in every stitch for a total of 14 stitches. And to increase, you're going to insert your hook and do 2 single crochets into the first stitch. And since we're increasing all the way around, we're going to be doing 2 single crochets into every stitch. Now at this point, you may want to start with a stitch marker. So we've done 4 stitches so far. Let's count back. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. This was our first stitch of round. Continue on until you have 14 single crochets all the way around. It's time to start round 3, and I prefer to leave my stitch marker in the last stitch of my previous round. So I'm going to move that to stitch number 14 from round 2. And we're going to move on to round 3, which is an increase and then single crochet 1 7 times. So we're going to increase in that first stitch, and that gets us 1, 2, and I have a knot in my yarn here that was just in the skein, and so I'm going to try and hide that inside of my project on my 3rd stitch here. Okay, that's 3, and then we're going to do 4, 5, and 6, and we're going to keep repeating that all the way around until we have 21 stitches. I've completed round 3 and have 21 stitches. Now if you see this sticking off the back, that was a knot in the yarn that came that way from the factory, and it will get hidden inside of there as we single crochet around. We won't see that anymore, but in case you see it sticking off, that's all that is. Now for rounds 4, 5, and 6, we're just going to single crochet 21 around. So single crochet 21 3 times for round 4, 5, and 6, and I'll meet you back here with that finished. When you finish round 6, you should have something that's starting to look like this, and we are making the top of the head right now. Next up for round 7, we're going to single crochet 10, and then we're going to change to the beak color yarn when we get to that last stitch. I am at my 10th single crochet, so I'm going to insert the hook and pull up the yarn, but instead of wrapping this same color around like we've been doing, we're going to hold that down with our other 2 fingers. We're going to grab the beak color. We're going to go up, 5, 6, 8 inches, however long you feel comfortable with, and we're going to pull that color through. Now I'm going to grab both of them and I'm going to crochet over both of them in this next stitch, but we're only stitching into the front loops. So if you're unfamiliar with that, you can stick your hook through as if you're going to do a regular single crochet. And you've got these 2 pieces of yarn going over it that make that V. We're only going through the front loop right now. So we're going to leave that back loop alone and use that later. So we're going to go over into the front loop, and I'm going to pull our tails over top, and we're going to crochet over top of them just to secure them in there. And the first thing we're going to do in that front loop is make 1 single crochet, and then we're going to do a half double. And a half double, you just yarn over first, pull up your loop, yarn over again, and pull it through all 3. And then we're going to do 1 more single crochet over those yarns. But now we're going back to our main color. So now we're going to put down both of the beak colors and we're going to pick up that body color again. We're going to yarn over with that body color, pull that through, and that's going to create our beak. And then the next thing we need to do is 10 single crochets to finish out the round. When we come back around to the front, you can see that we've got a beak starting. And we're going to flip this over and cut these tails. I usually cut mine evenly just because it looks a little nicer, but it really doesn't matter. They're going to be inside and we won't see them. And then I'm going to tie them in a couple of knots just to secure it, and don't pull so tight that you distort the beak on the front in any way. And now those will just stay here out of our way. They're going to go inside of our project and we won't ever see them again. Moving on to round 8, we're going to do 10 single crochets. And then when we get to the beak, we're going to ignore these top stitches and we're going to go find the back loop that we did not crochet into before. And we're going to do 1 single crochet into that back loop from round 7. And then we're going to completely skip over these 3 stitches in the beak, and the next single crochet will go after the beak. And that's going to cause it to cup a little bit and sort of stick out from the face, like we have here. Once you do that single crochet in the back loop, you're going to do 10 more single crochets. So we've got 10 before, 1 under the beak, and 10 after for a total of 21 stitches. For round 9, we're just going to do 21 single crochets around and have a total of 21 stitches. For round 10, we are going to start working on the tail, and then we will start working on the wings in just a minute. So first thing we're going to do is single crochet 1, and then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to skip the first chain, and then we're going to single crochet 1 in the second chain and 1 in the third chain. Then we're going to single crochet again in the stitch that we started from. So the first thing we did in this round was single crochet 1. We're going to go back into that same spot, and that's going to prevent us from having a hole after all of those things that we just did. Now we're going to single crochet 5. The next thing we're going to do is double crochet 5 into the front loops only of the next stitch. So if you'll remember from earlier in this pattern, we are only going to be picking up that front loop. To make a double crochet though, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that front loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2 loops. We're going to make 5 double crochets into that same front loop only. And when you're done with that, we're going to single crochet 9. So we're going to start right in that next stitch after those double crochets. And now we're going to be making the second wing, and we're going to be making it the exact same way. We're going to do 5 double crochets into this front loop only. And then we're going to do 8 single crochets. So the first one goes right after those double crochets, and then we can easily do 2, 3, and then we'll remove our stitch marker, put that down for a minute to do the fourth single crochet. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're trying to get to 8. We're going to go into that next stitch that you can see right here to get 5, and then we're going to work our way up the chain. So we're going to go in right here to get 6, 7, and 8. We're going to end on that point in the tail. And then we'll mark that as our last stitch, and we'll be working all the way around here. Now let's stop, and we're going to put our eyes in while we can still easily reach up inside of here. I'm going to be using safety eyes today, and you put the eyes in through, and then we have these plastic pieces that go on the back, and we're going to push this on like that until it clicks past these ridges. And I'm going to be putting the eyes between rounds 6 and 7. And I'm not as much concerned about counting how many stitches are between, but it is 1, 2, 3, or 4 stitches. I more so want to make sure that my eyes look even on both sides of my beak. See that this eye is a little bit closer and this eye is a little bit farther apart, so I'm going to move it out one more. We just want to make sure that that beak is centered in between the eyes, and also that they look like the 3 of those things are centered between the wings. So we're going to put our back on there and push down until it clicks, and that will keep it from coming loose. I really enjoy using safety eyes, but I do not recommend them if you're going to be making something for a child that is still putting toys in their mouth, because these are still something that they could chew on the area around here and pull this out, and it can be a choking hazard. So if you are making something for a younger child like that, I recommend using a worsted weight 4 yarn and making a magic circle and single crocheting 6 or 7 single crochets into the magic circle to get a flat black circle, and then embroidering that onto here. And I do plan on making some videos on some different eyes that I like to make when I'm gifting these to younger children. All right, up next is round 11, and we're going to single crochet 8, and then we're going to single crochet 1 under the wing in the back loops only, just like we did for the beak. And then we're going to single crochet 9. We're going to go under that again, and then we're going to be single crocheting 8 to end the round, and we'll have 27 stitches. So I've got my first 8 done, and then we're going to flip over this wing, and we're going to find that center stitch where we left that back loop only from round 10, and we're going to do 1 single crochet in there. And then we can count these double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we need to be crocheting into that stitch right there after them. And so we'll do 9 across the front. Same thing here, we're going to flip that wing over and find that back loop that we left in the last round. And then we're going to be going to the other side of that wing, and we'll do 8 single crochets to finish out the round. Now we have our wings sticking out because we've crocheted under there. That's kind of pulled them in and made them cup and given them a wing shape. For rounds 12 and 13, we're just going to single crochet 27 around. So I'm going to finish that up and I'll meet you back here. All right, I finished up rounds 12 and 13, and it's really starting to take shape. So you should have something that looks like this. Now for round 14, we're going to be doing some invisible decreases to start closing up this bottom. Now if you've never done an invisible decrease before, you go under the front loops of 2 stitches, then pull your yarn through, and then yarn over and pull it through again. So it's just like a single crochet, but we're going to start out in those 2 front loops. And the first thing we're going to do is 4 invisible decreases. So we've done 1. Now we're going to make sure we just went into that stitch, so we need to make sure we get into the next correct stitch. We're going to go through those front loops, yarn over, pull it up, yarn over again, and that's 2. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets, 3 more invisible decreases, 4 single crochets, and 3 more invisible decreases to finish out the round. For round 15, we're going to be doing 8 invisible decreases and then 1 single crochet at the very end for a total of 9 stitches. Now, if you guys are still hanging around at this point in the video, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that like button and subscribe. Leave me a comment and let me know how this pattern is going for you. I'd love to be able to keep hanging out and keep sharing these free tutorials. I'm also very active over on Instagram. If you'd like to follow me there, you can see a lot more what I'm up to currently and some behind the scenes photos. And we can remove that stitch marker and be done with it. Get that last single crochet in there. Now we're going to be stuffing it. I don't mind stuffing through this part. You may want to back up one more round if you'd prefer to stuff it through a larger hole and then do that one round one more time. So let's get this stuffed and I'll meet you back here. If you would like the printed version of this pattern, you can find that in my Etsy shop that's going to be linked below. Okay, the body is looking pretty good. I need a little more stuffing in my tail. I try to make mine pretty firmly stuffed without changing the shape of it because my kids love to squeeze them so much, and if you don't add enough stuffing, they can get distorted and change shape after kids really love on them a lot. Okay, we're almost finished. If you would like to see another pattern very similarly related to this, I also have a chicken pattern, and I'll have a video for that linked below, and it's also in my Etsy shop as well. Now, we are just going to cut off a long tail for sewing this in. We need to pull this through and thread our tapestry needle. Now those front loops only that we've been working in quite often, we're going to just sew through those front loops, and we've got 9 stitches in this round. So I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And when you get all the way around, you're going to hold your stuffing in so it doesn't get in the way, and then pull that closed. And that gives us that nice flat bottom for it to sit on. And then you're just going to weave your end in. I'm going to move over a little bit, and then I'm going to be going through the loops of the stitches that I've made. I really want to make sure that this is going to stay. I'm not going to pull too hard or it will start changing the shape. You just want to pull until all of the yarn is in there. I want this to be woven through those loops, because if you just put your needle in and come out the other side, those will eventually work themselves out. Those tails will work their way out as kids play with it, as they squish them. If you have a fairly young child with smaller hands, they will stick their fingers in through the holes here. That's just kind of how kids work. And they will find those ends and bring them to you. And I know this because I made that mistake when I was making my first amigurumis. And my kids have since brought me those projects that I may not love because they need they needed quite a bit of practice to make them better, but my kids have loved them so much that they have pulled all of those ends out. And then we're just going to cut that off, pull out any little fuzz left behind by that string, and we have finished our chick. Like I showed you earlier, I've made this in a couple of different color options, whether you're going for a chicken chick or a duckling or a gosling or whatever you might have on your farm, maybe a little baby turkey. Here's my original yellow one. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next video.